Welcome to the Whitetail Legacy Podcast.
Tomorrow is opening day.
This morning, didn't have a great hunt. Deer didn't move like usual.
We just got set up in the middle of this bedding thicket. Saving this spot from the rut. I think it's a nice buck.
Boom! Hits a 170.
That was money. I think he's down right over there, maybe 10 yards.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast, bringing you back to the hunt and leaving a legacy.
Baller rut.
Whitetail Legacy Podcast coming at you. Little different voice coming at you off the intro. We'll get into that a little bit later, but one thing that's on our minds here at Whitetail Legacy is 9/11 just happened, and a lot of people sacrificed their lives, and we need to take a moment of silence for them. And also for the founder of QU, Jason Hairston. All right, here, moving on. That's one thing that's very important to us. You know, we do the VIP shout out every week. A lot of innocent people were lost in 9/11. Then we just had Blood Origins on, and he did an episode with the founder of QU, and then the tragic news here last week of him passing, so show them the respect that they deserve. So, if you're wondering why you're hearing my beautiful voice at the beginning of an episode, is because Cody is doing some dad stuff, very important dad stuff. We were all set to record, and then he got a text message from his wife, and she said, I think you need to come inside for a minute. And he went in there, and I guess one kid has hand, foot, and mouth. And then the other kid, the newborn, has ear infection, so he's screaming. So Cody left me his phone to be able to talk to Grant because I have a stupid iPhone 7, and I have to have my special adapter, which I have in my work truck, so I can listen to podcasts because that's what I do. So I had to use Cody's phone to be able to talk to Grant and hook it up to the soundboard and the whole nine. So I'm out here. I did this one solo. I'm kind of proud of myself. I think Cody was a little nervous by the way he left the studio, which I don't blame him. So getting right into our partners here. ECW calls. Guys, got to get on the orders. Jeff's pumping out the calls. He's pumping out the turkey calls still. He's the goose and duck call lineup is just rocking. Don't forget, we have our Whitetail Legacy podcast duck. We don't even duck hunt. We have our Whitetail Legacy podcast buck grunt tubes and our turkey calls available. Or you can hit Jeff up at embrycustomwoodworking.com. Get into that. Getting right into Ingram. Man, dude, he's got to be getting close on our bucks from last year. Cody's getting that full sneak done. Just going to be coming right out at you in your face. And then I'm getting the offset shoulder, right semi-sneak, head up. Man, it's a long one. I think I got it all there. I got a semi-sneak turn right now with my first bow buck, but this one's going to have the head up. And this one's going to have a lot more detail because Ingram's doing the tanned instead of the dry preserve. And Ingram just puts a lot more into his mounts than that guy who I had doing it before. So don't forget to check him out, Ingram's Outdoor Obsession. Man, getting close. We're excited. VIP shout out this week. We got Joe Watson sent in from our buddy Justin Duncan. He was in the U.S. Navy, and we want to thank Joe for his service. We don't have any details or anything, but he did more than Cody and I did. So, Joe, we want to salute you and thank you for your service. Getting right into the Veteran Innovative Products. guys, if you are in the southern portion, you got pigs, you got to check out the hog log. I'm telling you guys. That hog log is for real. They say the pigs are in the southern part of Illinois, which, I mean, I don't know. That's not where we're at, but that's what I've heard. And I know when we call in a deer during the fall season, they ask you if you've seen any wild hogs. So they got to be getting close. And I guarantee you, when I see one, I'm going to send it. Getting right into scent. Oh, yeah, one thing that we have not touched on is our new veteran shout out poster board in the studio. We have every VIP shout out on a poster board with the American flag draped over it. And that's one thing that Cody and I did because that is a very special part, a very meaningful part to this podcast. And it deserves a spot in our studio. So every VIP veteran broadhead shout out per episode is on that poster board hung up in the studio because those are the people that make this podcast possible. So very important to us. It's got its own spot on the wall. And man, it's damn near a highlight of the studio. Cody's got $2 in here, and everybody. I mean, I just can't stop looking at the American flag we got hanging on the wall there. So, getting into scent lock. One thing we have not talked about. If you guys can hear anything, I'm just smoking this fourth arrow camera arm in the studio, back and forth because I have nothing else to do. So, getting into scent lock. One thing we have not talked about is their line of socks. I know they're going to be coming out with a whole line of socks for business. If you play tennis, if you run cross country, if you do any other activity, they're going to be having a whole line of socks coming out. For the business guy looking for some odor control on his feet. Maybe he's sweating it out on a business meeting or something. That Scentlock's going to have you covered. Soccer teams, track guys, they're going to have everybody covered when they come out with this new line of socks. So very excited to see where that comes out. And plus, they already have their line of socks out for us hunting guys, different weights, and, it's backed by Scentlock, so it's going to control your foot odor if you get sweaty. Oh, just wetting my taste buds here a second. So we had Grant from 8th and Tine on here. Very good episode, flying solo. We get into a bunch of stuff, talking about high school days and how it translates. His team and where they're going. His camera setups. How they run their setups on their cameras, and then finishing out with an awesome Tennessee Velvet buck hunt, which sounds awesome. And Cody and I are going somewhere. We got to get somewhere and at least get a chance at a Velvet buck. So we don't know if that's gonna be up in the Dakotas, if it's gonna be Tennessee, but man, we gotta get somewhere, and then that's just gonna help us scratch that itch, because we all got the itch for October 1st. But if you can get out there September, get that itch scratched, I mean, you're gonna hold out for a dandy. Maybe help out your farm for a couple years here. So I'm flying solo, guys. Do not forget that. This is it's a little bit harder than it sounds. So, I hope you guys enjoy. We cover a lot of stuff. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. This team's really going to have it rocking. He said he sent off his film to get it edited. They're going to be putting it out. I'm telling you, you're gonna want to watch it when he starts talking about it. Their film and setup. So be sure you guys follow them on both platforms. And we can't thank you guys enough for listening. So we're gonna get right into it. And now joining us on the phone, we got Grant Burnett from 8th and Tine. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing just fine. How are you, homie?
Man, I'm doing awesome. I tell Cody all the time, the hardest thing with podcasting is scheduling, and that really come to the forefront of trying to get this one knotted down.
Oh yeah, dude, it's been back and forth with me and you. I think the first time that we wanted to meet up, I was on vacation, and just the overall timing didn't work out. And then we've had Tennessee deer season open up and Kentucky deer season open up, so we've been running around like crazy, and just one of those things, man. Hunting in life. One of those things.
Right. And then you add in, wives and kids, which Cody and I got, and it can really make for interesting trying to get something pinned down.
Absolutely, man. Jim, one of our teammates, he's got a newborn at home. Sterling's only a few months old, so we're all learning, via Jim, how to balance hunting and your wife and your baby and your job, and it's a process, man.
Right. The last couple of years and this year I've been taking 2 weeks to hunt late October, early November for the rut, and then I was informed last night by my wife because next year I'll have basically a year-old and then a 3.5-year-old, and I was informed that I'm not going to be able to hunt in 2 weeks. So I'm learning as well as everybody else.
So y'all had a meeting.
Yeah, we had a meeting, and it didn't quite fall my way.
I understand. We all have those meetings, so I understand, man.
Right. Well, man, let's just get right into it here. You got 8th and Tine. You guys are up and off the ground.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. 8th and Tine, we're not a year old yet. The idea that who we are and what we're trying to do is much older than a year. I've known two of the members, Austin and Justin, all throughout high school. We went to high school together. Justin and I hunted together all throughout high school. Austin's actually new to hunting, and then Jim is Justin's brother-in-law. But we all met up last fall. We all have common, hunting practices, hunting traditions that are all really, near and dear to our hearts, that are very common to the four of us. And I've kind of always, I've every deer I've killed, there's been a camera present. Be it that doesn't mean they were all recording or that everything was in focus, but there was a camera there.
Right.
I've been bow hunting deer since I was 12 years old, and I've loved the ability of telling a story about it, not just catching it on camera, but telling the story from finding one on camera that you consider a target buck that's mature, be it a mature buck or just one that is really cool looking or whatever, and just telling that story. And that's something that we all have in common, and we've just been able to do all of that together over the past year. We had an incredible turkey season last year, and we don't just video ourselves. We try and invite some friends and family along, and last year we were actually able to record 3 first turkeys, which was awesome. But 8th and Tine, just to kind of give you an idea of what that is, 8 is like my life number. I am the founder, or whatever you want to call it, of 8th and Tine. 8 is like my life number. Born October 8th, 1988, weighed 8 pounds, 8 ounces.
Oh, geez.
I could go on for the whole podcast of how many times the number 8 shows up in my life. It's just kind of one of those reoccurring things. So it represents life. And then the name Tine, Tine is obviously, a point, an antler on a deer.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of represents the outdoors, and what we try and showcase is what we were just talking about before we started the podcast, right? Is life.
Yeah.
We try and showcase that life and where it intersects the outdoors, because that's 99% of us. And that's what originally got us all talking about us having a podcast together and talking, because that's what you guys, do with your podcast, Whitetail Legacy. It's about, your trials and tribulations, highs and lows, ups and downs, those meetings that you have with your wife that you were thinking ready to go, and then balancing all that out. And so 8th and Tine is a crossroads. And we ask people to meet us on that crossroads of life and the outdoors, and we try and just be super authentic and real in the moment. You know, we try and share everything, from packing the bags to miss an opportunity to hunt because, you know, a work meeting came up and we can't change these things, so we're not going to be able to make that hunt anymore. Stuff like that. We try and show all of it.
Yeah, you know, I think we just did a podcast a couple weeks ago with a guy, and you know, he talks about, you know, these hunting shows are, you know, just open, shoot, close, and you know, that's one thing with you guys. You're gonna show more than just, you know, open, shoot, close. You want to show the journey. You want to show the misses. And that's one thing that Cody and I are going to focus on is showing the work that's put into all of these animals that we harvest or don't harvest. You know, even if we get an animal 50 yards away, but you know, we didn't shoot it with a bow, it was still a success because we got that close. You know.
Right. That's exactly right, man.
A couple of things I want to touch on that you mentioned there. You know, Cody and I are kind of in the same boat. You know, we wish we would have started this podcast 2 months before we actually did. You know, we wish when we had the idea that we started it, or then, you know, say we did start it 2 months before that. Well, then we wish we would have started it 2 months before that, you know.
Absolutely.
And then, so you had said that you had started hunting when you were 12 years old. Do you feel like that was late in your life to start hunting? You know, because we talked to a bunch of people, you know, they've got kids 5 and 6, 8, 10 out hunting. Do you think 12 was late?
Looking back, I wish I had been in it my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving through a rainstorm. Is it? Are you picking that up pretty bad? Because I can pull over.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
I was say it's raining here. It's rained here for 3 days.
I've been, you know, I feel like 5 or 6 would have been awesome for me, but my story started at 12, so that's where it's at. Looking back, I wish I could have, you know, started it the minute I could have been going. Right? I mean,
yeah.
I had a BB gun, and I think my dad got me a 20 gauge shotgun probably when I would say probably 9 or 10. I don't think I was quite that. I think it was probably 9 or 10 when I got my first shotgun, but I didn't start truly hunting until I was 12. I mean, now you look up and, I mean, there's dads, moms that are taking their kids out hunting and they're not even starting school yet. You know, they're not even in kindergarten and they're sitting in the deer blind. I mean,
right. Which is
go ahead.
Which is super cool. And the reason that I bring this up is because 12 years old is when I started. My dad had kind of started my older brother. He said, you know, you got to be in 6th grade. You get to go and you get to sit with me turkey hunting and deer hunting, and then if you do good there, then we'll get you into your hunter education safety course, and you know, we'll make sure you pass that, you understand all the rules and regulations and everything, and then he's going to put us through his own gun safety course, you know, make sure we know how different ways to hold a gun, safety, just so, you know, him as a dad, he can feel safe with us. And then, you know, when we hit that junior high 7th grade year, we can get out there and get by ourselves and get our own experience and our own stories going. So the reason I asked you that is because, you know, just like I said, we talked to so many people where they're getting kids out 6, 8, 10 years old. When I started, was 12 years old, so it kind of just matched up, and that's why I asked you. Yeah,
and my story is a little bit different. My dad waterfowl hunts with me. We still waterfowl hunt together, but
awesome.
We've only deer hunted once or twice together. Just never was really a passion of his. My uncle put a bow in my hand when I think I was 11, and by the time I got home and figured out that's what I wanted to do, I was probably, like I said, 12 years old, and that's really what got me. Before that, hunting was more of, I only thought about it when the season rolled around, type thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, when I was younger, 8 to 9, 10 years old, I only thought about it when seasons rolled around, and that was typically squirrel season. That's about the only type of hunting I was doing. And then once I put that bow in my hand and that whole experience happened with my uncle, I've lived, breathed, eat, sleep, whatever, dreamed about bow hunting, about archery seasons, whatever it is. I've wanted to chase it. You know, if I can chase it with a bow, I've wanted to do it. And I can't imagine if I had started doing that much younger. I don't know where I'd be today. I probably wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, my mom actually bought me my first bow, and my parents had split up since I was young, and so that a lot of people are surprised to even hear that, but
Right,
she knew from me coming to her house on the weekends to hear me talk about, oh hey mom, I went hunting, I went shotgun hunting with dad, and it did this happened, and we seen this buck, and dad shot this 160, and this and that. And I'd said, well, hey, she was dating a guy who was big into bow hunting and goose hunting,
Oh, cool.
and so I was like, oh yeah, bow hunting would be cool. I said I get to hunt so much more during the year, And then for Christmas, I got a bow, and off I went. And I was 16 at that point, and I kept that same bow up until about 2 years ago. So I had that bow for 12 years.
I was just gonna ask you, do you still have your original bow? I still have my
Yep.
first bow.
I still kept it. I'm in the process of converting it over to be my bow fishing rig.
Oh, cool, man. That's a great idea. Mine just hangs up and is kind of a talking piece at this point. I'm
Right.
scared to pull it back now. I've had it hanging up for so long.
Right. So I wanted a Hoyt for forever, since I
Yeah.
was, 12 or
Yeah.
13. And I come across a really good deal. A guy messed up his shoulder, and they just made crossbows legal here in Illinois for everybody. And he was just getting rid of everything, his case, his arrows, his broadheads, the bow, his release, just a whole nine. And I couldn't pass it up.
So what model Hoyt is it?
It's a 2016 Carbon Defiant.
Oh yeah, man.
And it shoots really good. It's got a single pin HSA optimizer light. Just a really good shooting bow. And a lot of people are like, oh well, yeah, you need to pick the bow that shoots good for you. And I just probably couldn't have picked a better bow to actually shoot. It's a lot smoother than my PSE. I had a PSE Nova. Was the bow my mom got me. So it's just kind of a match made in heaven there, I think.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. So your first bow was a PSE Nova.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. My brother's first bow was a PSE Bruin. Sounds like you never had to have the PSE Bruin's kind of like a junior style bow, and that's what I was wondering is if mine is it's a bear. It's like a bear. It's got a number. Anyways, it was like a Walmart. It came in a Walmart package with the arrows and everything.
Gotcha.
It came in a Walmart plastic packet. I say Walmart, package
Right.
store. It had the plastic with the arrows already in it. Yeah, I think I ended up killing I killed probably 4 or 5 deer with that bow before I needed to graduate.
Right.
Yeah.
With my PSE, I got it when I was younger, and I had just become comfortable with it. I didn't see no need for changing anything. And then what makes you more confident than killing a couple of deer with something?
That's right.
And you just keep on sending it. And I 3 years ago, I shot a really nice, really tall, maybe pushing 148 pointer. I mean, it's a big 8, to be pushing 140. And I shot him right in the shoulder, got maybe 3 or 4 inches of penetration because I'd never turned up my poundage from being a teenager to where I am now, and never ended up recovering that buck. And I said, that's the last straw. I talked about getting a new bow for 2 years. I started finally having a good job, was stable in my life, and it's just one of them things that you don't want to change unless you have to, because you're like, well, it's still doing good for me. And then if I think to myself, if I had the bow that I got now, I would have just plowed right through that shoulder, and I'd have had a giant 8-pointer on my wall.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell what's going to happen if you don't do it. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right. In hindsight, it's
Yep.
always 20/20.
Right. So with the guys that you have on 8th and Tine,
Yeah.
you said that you have been hunting with Justin, for a while.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm actually pretty jealous of, having somebody that close and being able to have all the stories that you guys probably have together. I don't really have anybody that I hunted with a lot. I've got a couple people that I've hunted quite a bit with, but up until now, Cody is pretty much what I call my lifelong friend that I never knew existed until I met him.
Right.
And, I wish I would have met him 14 years ago when I started hunting, because our friendship, and I guarantee all our hunting stories would just be that much better because we enjoy it the same amount.
Right.
So I think that's really cool that you're able to do something on the level that you guys are at with somebody that you've been hunting with for so long.
And Justin, I mean, when Justin and I finally, became friends, when you go to high school, and I played sports all throughout high school. Justin, I think by high school he had quit playing sports. He played sports in middle school. We knew each other in middle school, but we became friends in high school. I think by high school he had quit most sports, and the reason why is Justin, he is a superior woodsman. I mean, we talk about it as a team, as a company, or whatever you want to call us. He's an incredible hunter, and it was his love for the outdoors. He quit a lot of sports in high school, and really, my hunting, it didn't die down in high school, but I mean, I wasn't doing as much, mainly, well, for two reasons. I was a 3-sport athlete, and I chased girls too often, right?
Right.
So those things in of itself, but he kind of kept that alive in me. He was always texting or calling, or if we would go to a party, Justin was, if we were hanging out with anybody or whatever, Justin was talking about hunting while other people were talking about, the last football game, or,
right,
good looking cheerleader or whatever. Justin was like, somebody's talking about the good looking blonde, and Justin's talking about, the 150-inch 8-point 10-point he got on camera at so-and-so's farm. So he kept me hunting throughout high school, just kind of trying to keep up with what he was doing. And then he went to the University of Auburn. I went to the University of Tennessee. So that's a long ways off.
Right.
So we met up a few times here and there between then and then. We had both been out of school for several years, kind of getting our careers underneath us. And then we just kind of, like I said, this actually all started with me in Austin. And then I as soon as I said, hey, we need to do something we need to make this work. This is something that we all have a passion for. And Austin had mentioned Justin. I had mentioned Justin, and Jim was he was a home run in terms of bringing him in, just because of, we can get into that, but Jim is almost our backbone. He's an incredible hunter, but on top of that, he's a little bit older than us, not a lot, but what I mean by that, with that comes a lot of maturity. And like I was saying earlier, he's got a wife and a really stable career, but they just had their baby, so we're able to learn a lot through him. And then his camera knowledge is through the roof for somebody that's never had, he's had some training, but to never have true formal training or education on a camera, the guy I put him up against anybody. And I know I kind of went off on we were just talking about hunting buddies, and I just went through the whole thing.
No, yeah, that's cool, man. I can tell you one thing. It sounds like me and you would have been great friends in high school. A 3-sport athlete.
Yeah.
Kind of did some hunting on the side, and just like you had kind of said, I mean, looking back, I would have probably still played sports, but I would have hunted a lot more than I did,
So you're probably like me. I don't know. So when I first got into high school, right? So my 3 sports were wrestling. I was a wrestler, and then football and baseball. And in that order in terms of what I love the most.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it would probably be wrestling, baseball, and then football. But anyways, beginning of school, freshman, sophomore, and then towards my junior year, that's all I cared about was sports. I'd hunt on the side. By senior year, I was skipping practices or whatever, so that I was hunting in September or October. I was starting to really fall back in love with it. My senior year. And did that happen for you, or was it? How was it for you?
So I was playing football, basketball, and then I was running track.
Okay.
It would be football, track, basketball if I was ranking them.
There you go. Well, you're from Illinois. You
ye-
can't say anything but football.
Right? We do love our football. We can't hold a candle to Texas, I can tell you that. We do love our football. We do love our small town football.
Yeah.
And so our deer season is more in the basketball time frame. And it would be like we'd have a scrimmage. We just play against our own teammates. I know I missed a couple of them scrimmages because I got a deer down late at night. It was like, I shot a deer at 4:45. Well, you got a scrimmage at 7. Well, I'm still kind of trying to drag this sucker out of the woods and get it, cleaned out and back to, the butcher shop. I'm not going to make it, coach. He's like, what do you mean you're not going to make it? I said, well, I'm just not going to be there, man. So I know.
I don't have a story that cool. I wish I did.
No, I don't think it's that cool. It'd be cool.
I do. I think it's awesome. Hey, coach, you can't make it. I'm on a blood trail.
Yeah, right. And then I know in junior high, so we did football, and then the girls did cheerleading, and then they had their volleyball season while the boys played basketball. I know I missed a couple games because I was just dead tired from putting in work hunting. But high school sports don't go. I just talked about this. High school sports don't go past high school. You can't talk about. I mean, you're not Al Bundy talking about 40 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But if you're hunting in high school, you can talk about that buck you shot 25 years ago. That's a 167, and you got the mount on the wall. I mean, you can talk about that, and it still be relevant.
Dude, I love that analogy because it's so true. Hunting transcends. Hunting transcends, generations. It transcends. For example, like I'm sitting in traffic in Nashville, Tennessee right now, and you're sitting in you guys' studio in Illinois. There's a lot of things between me and you. Literally, I'm sure we would. There's a lot of things, but it transcends. If we started talking about a sport right now, we would find a million differences. We would find a million things that, oh, I can't believe you like that team or that player. But if you love hunting, you love hunting.
Right.
And I don't care. I don't know if I know I listen to you guys all the time, and I know you guys have talked about it a little bit, but what in today's world with what's happened in the past, 48 hours, I don't want to get off on a whole tangent with Kuyu and Jason Harrison, but and just the whole what I'm getting into is there's a whole thing that's happening that's degrading our society, and things like what happened with Jason hopefully bring us together. I know you guys probably have your own social media groups and archery talk forums and all that, right?
Right on.
Every time somebody posts something, for every good comment, there's 8 or 9 bad ones. There's, why would you do that? Or why would you do this? And I know just from listening to you guys that we're on the same page. Like I said, hunting transcends, and it needs to continue to do that. We need to be able to reach out to the guy next to us, whether he shoots a crossbow and we think he shouldn't, whether he doesn't pick up a deer stand until or pick up his rifle until November 1st. He should pick it up before then. But if he doesn't, and he buys his tag, he buys his license, and he is promoting hunting in an ethical manner, and in a lawful manner, we gotta start sticking together, man. That's what I'm saying. And I know I just kind of went off on a tangent. I apologize, but
no, it's fine.
I kind of felt like what you were saying with, with sports, we could find a million differences between each other, but with hunting, we all can relate. And like what you were saying with hunting and high school, it's not cool to talk about that touchdown you scored, and you could have gone pro if you hadn't hurt your shoulder.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Right. And
right.
I actually took a woodworking class my senior year of high school, and we had to do a final project, and we had like 10 or 12 weeks to work on it, and I was like, man, I don't know what to build. I mean, we already have an assignment to make an end table and this and that, and I was like, you know what? I just did my senior pictures and had all these trophies and medals in a cardboard box. I said, well, to hell with it. I'm going to make a trophy case. And I've got it in the back room of my house, but anytime like we do, I'm gonna have a baby shower tomorrow. Actually, you know how many people I'm gonna be like calling over to my trophy case, like, hey, come look at my trophies or look at this trophy case that I built. No, I'm not gonna be doing that. But I got a turkey above my fireplace and I got 2 deer mounts in the living room. I'm like, hey, check
Heck
these
yeah.
studs out. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah. So tell me about your turkey mount.
Um, if you ask my brother-in-law, he thinks it was his turkey, but it was just yeah. Uh, Early morning, I sat down. I said, hey, I'm going to go to this point. He said, all right, I'm going to go to this point. We're supposed to be about 250 yards away. We're actually end up about 150 yards away. Bird to my right, my immediate right, about 80 yards. He's hammering back off me on the roost. Flies down, just going the other way, but it's the field kind of cuts back. And then he kind of comes around the corner. I seen him strutting the whole way in. I don't have no decoys out. My brother-in-law, who's 150 yards away, which I thought was going to be a lot farther away, and then he starts calling, and I'm like, dude, you are close. And he's like, yeah, you hear that sucker? I was like, yeah, he's like almost in my lap. And he's like, hey, man, he's coming to me. And then I shoot this Tom at about 24 yards, and he's like, well, guess he's not coming no more, because he could see him flopping to the field. So I get accused of stealing the bird and not being where I said I was going to be when I clearly knew where I was going, and he obviously didn't know where he was going. So just one of them stories, you know, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool because you have 2 different vantage points. Yeah. You know, one guy says one thing, one guy says another thing, and it's a hunting story.
Well, see, the reason I wanted to ask that story is I wanted you to tell it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gave every reason that everybody has a turkey mount. Every turkey that I've ever seen that's a mount. There's a story behind it. It's not, you know, because I'm not, turkey hunting is different and the limits are different. You can, if you wanted to, you could, in Tennessee, you could mount 3 of them a year, right?
Uh-huh.
But all turkeys they all look the same pretty much. That some of them have, but the ones that get mounted have a story.
Yeah.
I've always found that pretty interesting. If you go to a camp, if you go to a hunting camp or anybody's house and they got a mounted turkey, I guarantee you that turkey has a story. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I mean, it was nothing special. He kind of had a twisted sister beard, maybe 1.1/8 spur. Beard was right at 11 inches.
Sounds like a great bird, man.
Yeah, it's super awesome bird. The story is a lot better than the way he looks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you were talking about Justin and him knowing the in and outs of some cameras.
Or Jim.
Jim. Okay, Jim.
Yeah.
So, are you guys running DSLRs or are you running camcorders?
So we do both, and I love the fact that you use camcorders because so many people don't use that term anymore. But yeah, so we run both. We run both of our camcorders. Our video cameras are Sony's. One's a Sony Z150. The other is an FS5. The Z150 it's a tank. What I mean by that, it's not heavy, but it's very well built. But it's limited. You know, when you get in a tank, you're in a tank. You can't change the barrel out. You can't do anything with it. You're kind of limited to what you have, right?
Right.
But it does what it's supposed to do every time, and that's what a Sony Z150 is. A Sony Z150 does, and what it offers people. So a lot of times we get messages about what camera would you recommend for somebody that wants to start filming and that wants to do it on a professional level. We typically will recommend that Sony Z150 or something similar. And then the FS5 it's a cinematic camera. There's the FS5, there's the FS7, and then anything above that is, you know, you're talking about the Reds and things like that. But the FS5 allows you to put different lenses in there. You can have a short to medium or just a wide angle lens, or you can have a telephoto zoom lens on there. So it has a lot of different capabilities, and then also its ability to record slow slow motion type things as well.
Right.
And then we definitely run a DSLR. Actually, each one of us, we all have our own personal DSLRs. That's becoming more of a popular thing, is folks that are wanting to self-film or get into filming are buying DSLRs. I get that question all the time, or we get that question, Handycam / camcorder or DSLR. And what we tell people all the time is try both. They're just there's so much, they're different. There's nothing about them that's the same than maybe the name. You can get a Canon and a Canon, or a Sony and a Sony, but just the way that they function and feel in your hand, I mean, the way they even connect to a tripod, they're not the same. So I'd like to tell people to try both. I started with a little Handycam and went to a DSLR, and now use our Z150 or FS5.
Yeah. No, yeah. You nailed it on the head there. Cody and I, we both have bought DSLRs for this year. And that's because we follow a hunting team, and that's what they use, and they use that exclusively. And
who's that hunting team?
That'd be Last Breath TV.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, if you haven't watched any of their film, you should definitely check that out. So
I am very familiar with their stuff, man.
Yes, they are. Their quality is just lights out. So big shout out to them. And Cody and I filmed last year, just kind of toying around. And I had a Sony Handycam. I couldn't tell you anything past that. And it's just basically what it boiled down to is just shit film. I had a shit camera arm, and I got burnt out trying to self-film after I took a week in late October for vacation. I had great action. There's no reason not to keep filming, but just setting up the camera arm every hunt, getting the camera out. Oh well, hey, it's raining, and my wife is counting on having this camcorder to video Christmas morning or a kid's birthday.
That's right.
So I got to protect it, and there's just a lot more going into it at that point than what I was doing with. And I think Cody and I both got a little burnout on it because we're both trying to do it ourselves and not produce something, but at least have something respectable. And at the end of the year, we still put out what we had, and that was just, it was just letting everybody know, hey, this is where we're at. This is what you guys can do with zero experience. And this year, just, talking to people through this podcast, talking to people outside this podcast, talking to the guys from Last Breath, we went with the DSLR approach, and we upgraded our camera arms to 4th Arrow.
There you go.
And we're really gonna try to produce something this year. So this year I can say that we're gonna try to produce something. However, with the DSLR approach, we'll have to see how it goes.
That is some tough self-filming. I just gotta be honest there. I mean, it's tough to self-film. If you guys can hunt together, it'll make it much easier. One thing that sticks out to me, you're talking about, you had your camcorder. I remember when I bought my first nice Handycam, same thing. My wife was like, "Oh, that'll be great for Christmas and this and that." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah, that lasted like a season, and it had been dropped in mud puddles and thrown in. At one point, I left it in I have built my own, or not built, but had a friend of mine build me a little ozone container to help with my clothing, and I ate some of the plastic off of it because I left it in a bag. So I know what you're saying, man. I mean, it's just one of those things. But when you get back to the DSLRs, what's great about those, and if I had to pick one, that's what I tell people: if you're putting a gun to my head and saying which one would you pick to take with you, you can only take one camera. I'm going to tell somebody to take a DSLR
to self-film. Or to film in general.
To film in general.
Oh yeah, DSLR all day.
You got the lens, like I was saying, interchangeable lenses. They've got you can put a mic system on them, a lav mic system if you want with a boom mic. If you get a cage and all those things, they're super lightweight, super lightweight.
Yep.
Which Jim and I are headed out to hunt elk in Idaho in a few weeks, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to carry our camera gear with us. But
you should go back to the late '90s and get the shoulder mount camcorder.
That's right.
Just put it right on the VHS.
The tapes with us. And then, the DSLR is super lightweight. But the biggest thing about it is you can take those still photos, and still photos can tell a whole lot of a story. There's the old saying, "A picture's worth 1,000 words." There are pictures that are better than video. And the DSLR allows you to get those.
Did you see the latest when Tag and Bragg shot that velvet buck in North Dakota?
Yes, sure did.
Did you see that? Did you see the photo that they did under the night sky? I mean, holy smokes, dude!
Yeah, and you're not catching that unless you have
oh my lord,
a good camera and some
literally
good glass,
on
good
fire.
glass with you. Yeah.
That I mean. We went to the Last Breath launch party. They do kind of a free deal here in town, and we're just lucky to be located right next to them. So, Cody and I are just sitting there, and then I think it was like maybe a week or two later, I had just made up my mind, and I started researching DSLRs, and Cody said he was just watching their videos from the previous season. He said, he just messaged me that day. He said, I'm getting a DSLR. I said, well, I just woke up this morning and I said, I'm going to get a DSLR. So we're kind of both on the same page at the same time, And their photos that they had a whole slideshow at the beginning of that thing. And, we couldn't even fathom the amount of time, let alone to get the footage that they had, but the still pictures. And the still pictures, be able to edit them and put them out. I mean, there's two positives to the DSLRs. The one negative is, everything might not be in focus.
Right. Yeah. You've got one thing, you've got to learn how to run those manual settings. One thing I would recommend is teaching people how to use the peaking and the zebra stripes, and we can go through all those if your DSLR allows you to do that. It makes the picture look funny in your viewfinder, but it tells you whether something's in focus or not, because there's times where your eyes aren't adjusting to that LED screen or whatever you're looking through, and it looks perfect, and then it comes out and the guy you're talking about, let's say it's an interview while you're in the tree stand, and it looks to you like you're in focus, but really the camera was focused on, the logo on your shirt or the logo on your hat, and your face is blurred for a 2-minute interview. How much of that can you really use as video? The audio is probably great.
Yeah.
But you probably thought, oh man, I've done it. Dude, I just killed that interview. That was perfect. And then you go and you sit down and you look at the footage and you're like, oh man.
Yeah, right.
That was all out of focus.
I shot a doe last year, and I had the handy cam with me, and I didn't even think about turning the viewfinder towards me so I could see what the hell was going on,
Yeah.
And I did the shot, or I did the interview post shot, be like, hey, I just shot a doe, I got her running away, it looked like a good shot. And it just zoomed up right on my nose. That's all you could see in the viewfinder, just my nose. I was like, man.
The camera's still zoomed in on the deer, and you crank it around. Oh man,
right.
I've been there.
So, just going back to something that you said earlier about, the DSLR it's tough to self-film with.
Yes.
Cody and I are getting to that point where we're gonna put this I'm not sure if it's the podcast ahead of each other, or Whitetail Legacy ahead of each other, or just what we want to do, our vision ahead of each other, but one of us sacrificing to be the cameraman. We've talked about it multiple times, and we're getting there. I think after this year, because we both have basically got the last year warning on the pieces that we're gonna hunt. So I think we're just gonna go at it. Last year just kind of self film. I think Cody might have people that listen to the podcast. Cody might have the beer guy to self film for him.
That's right.
If I go to my piece, I'm pretty much gonna be solo. But next year, I think we're gonna hit up some public land, and then maybe the Boonertown piece that we have. So at that point, we'll be teaming up for sure, and we'll have some deer picked out, set aside. But this year, I think, even though we've talked about it, I don't know what we're gonna do, man. It's a hodgepodge. We've talked about it. Things change too, throughout a season. It's just so many things change.
I mean, here. So, if I can interject.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one thing, there's of the four of us, we've all committed. I'm just gonna say it. We have a hell yes or hell no mentality. Okay, meaning when we ask a question to our group, it's either hell yes or hell no.
Right.
What I mean by that, we're either all in or we're all out, because we're too small to be wishy-washy.
Exactly.
We don't have the liberty for somebody to not be fully committed.
Right.
With you guys being a two-man crew, are you guys? I mean, I've listened. I know you both have, your specific places that you hunt and your target deer. One thing that we've started doing, we've reached out to local guys. We just teamed up with a local guy we met. He's been incredible to work with. His name's RT Bailey. I guess I gotta drop his name because he's been awesome to work with, right?
Yeah, go ahead and drop it, man. That's what we like to do.
But we were working with RT. He's a young guy. He's still in college. Still trying to find his way. And all I mean by that is, he's finishing up school, trying to figure out exactly what he's going to do. But he wants to be behind a camera for us and for himself, and he's done some incredible work. With you guys and it being like I said, a kind of a two-man team, you just got to commit. Hey, and I would say you need to commit for the season. Are we going to video each other this year? Or are we going to video ourselves? I would say if you guys have already committed to it and started for this year, you video yourselves for the remainder of the year and learn from it, because that's what taught all of us the most. That have filmed hunting at all was trying to film ourselves. And you learn real quick how much you'd love to have a cameraman.
Yeah.
But what makes it incredible is to have a cameraman that hunts. I mean, if you have a cameraman that hunts, you're lethal, because he knows when and how to move when deer are moving. You might get somebody in a deer stand that has no idea when and how to move. So you guys could team up next year and just wear it out when it comes to filming your own hunts, and anyways, greatly increase your odds of getting something in focus with the red light blinking.
Right. I think we would be more apt to film together if we didn't have the last year deadline.
Right.
I mean, he's got a big buck he's chasing. It'd be nice for me to take one last buck off the place I've hunted since I was 12. I've hunted there 16 years. It'd just be cool to, get one last hoorah, you know what I mean?
So that's kind of what I was, saying. And again, would be my advice to just about anybody because I've done the self-filming thing. That's what got me into what is do it a full season. You said you guys did it a lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do it a full season, and you guys compare notes and compare. Hey, man, I learned that if I, the camera manual said to do this when it was low light, but I learned if I did this for deer hunting, it was much better.
Right.
And you guys can bounce those ideas off of each other, and then by next season, you're each a pro behind the camera and in front of it, and then you're taking the world by storm, man.
Yeah, and one thing that we've talked about is, all right, go in there, Cody said he's not going to do a tree interview, which I don't know what he's planning on, if he's doing it at the truck or if he's not doing it at all, or if we're going to do it here in the studio. I don't know kind of his plan. I'll let him talk for that. But I said, if we get a deer down that we want to make a story out of and make an episode, you're going to have to call and be like, all right, here, now, this is priority now, because this is what has happened and this is what is guaranteed to be on film. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're definitely at that point, like, hey, we're going to take 2-3 days, get some good still shots, get the B-roll, get everything going in, and you really make the story out of it, and, get the work that we put into it, taking it to the locker, doing just a bunch of stuff that nobody's really showing that we want to showcase, because that's how we do things.
Right.
So speaking of how you do things, let's get into this Tennessee Velvet buck that you just got.
Okay. So like I was saying earlier, Austin and I went to high school together. He actually ended up joining the Army after high school. And he recently, I think can't remember when he retired, or his tour ended. I think it was 2016. And when that was all kind of coming to fruition, he called me and said, "Hey, I used to shoot a bow when I was younger. I want to start shooting a bow again." And as soon as he sent me that, I said, "Do you want to bow hunt?" He was like, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Just teach me how to shoot a bow." Well, I put a bow in his hand, and within a week we had broadheads screwed in. And I was kind of telling him what I was doing. I was self-filming. I had a blog out there, and I was creating a website, all this kind of stuff to get going. And this was literally last summer. Last summer of 2017. And I spent 98% of my deer season behind the camera trying to film Austin kill his first deer. Early season, we had some really good bucks come in. As you can imagine, with anybody that's literally learning how to hunt, learning how to bow hunt, and have a camera in their face the whole time. We had more lows than we had highs, but it was a ton of fun. Had a good buck that we could have killed early season, just didn't work out. A little bit later in the season, right in the middle of the rut, we literally had a deer crawl underneath the fence. No joke. Nice buck, would have been one of my biggest deer.
Crawled under the fence?
Crawl underneath a barbed wire fence chasing a doe.
Man.
And stood at 12 yards broadside, and just a clean whiff. Okay. Just a clean whiff. I could hear Austin drawing behind the camera. I mean, he was shaking and breathing, and I felt for him. And then probably just a few weeks later, we got on a deer that kind of just showed up out of nowhere. We had no history with him. The place that we were hunting has a ton of history of just big deer. This deer literally came out of nowhere. We caught him on camera 2 days before Austin had an encounter with him. And I'm not exaggerating when he literally brushed the tree we were hunting out of. The deer was just like, he brushed the tree. It's on camera. And Austin went to draw on him, and he was shaking so bad that the arrow was rattling inside the rest and scared the deer off. So I ended up killing that buck. He became my biggest buck to date. I killed him about a week later. That's the story of Dagger. That was all over our Instagram and everything like that. We got all that. So now we finished up the deer season. Austin had a few more encounters, and then he's been practicing all summer. And it's his first buck. I mean, like I said, he hasn't been hunting very long. So what can we do to get Austin his first deer? With us having our first velvet season, we knew the deer would be still in their bachelor groups, and at the same time, they haven't been hunted. They don't know the pressure of that time of year. So
right.
we found us a pretty good target buck, and just the place where we were hunting. The place we were hunting. It's more of a draw. It's not we don't hold any deer there. We're just hunting kind of a pass through. So if we get decent deer there, and we feel like that's one that we need, that would look that's a good target buck. We found one. He was in there very regularly. We made a plan. opening morning of Tennessee Velvet season, Austin and I are in the stand, and like clockwork, this buck came down a trail. This just kind of goes to show, we were talking about, ozone treatment earlier or whatever. Deer came down from dead downwind. We use different types of ozone treatment stuff. I highly recommend any type of ozone treatment anybody can use, but also just the hunting pressure that time of year. You could tell these deer had not been hunted. They didn't really understand what was going on. Came in from straight downwind, walked right to us, and Austin arrowed him at, it may have been 7 yards, maybe.
Jeez.
So I think it's the first time he's come to full draw on a deer. So it was quick, fast, in a hurry. These deer ran in on us. Like I said, it's kind of a pinch point and a draw through this little area. They ran in on us, and I was the cameraman. There's a little bit more to the story that we're going to release soon, so I don't want to tell all of it right this minute.
Right. Okay.
All right. But we he made the shot on the deer. We gave him a good hour before we got down. 15 minutes later, a coyote came through, and he smoked and stuck a coyote to the ground right there.
We always love that.
That's freaking awesome, right?
Yes.
Got down. He knew, which was great, being a young hunter. He knew right off the bat that it was a marginal hit. Which was, I thought that was pretty neat for a first-time hunter. I don't know if you've hunted with anybody that's like, oh yeah, I smoked him. And you get down, and he's like, hey man, I don't feel too good about the shot, blah blah blah. We get down, and it was high and back, but the exit wound was perfect. The entry was not where we would have wanted it, but the exit was pretty perfect. Tracked blood for about 100 150 yards and just dried up on us. I mean, not a drop. Actually, the last drop of blood that we found, we just got lucky and found it about 100 yards past where the blood really ended. So we had about a 300-yard blood trail, and it was really dried up on us. So we ended up calling a dog in, and that evening we recovered Austin's first buck. I haven't gotten any info back on the measurements on him. He's probably right at 120. Not 9 point. We put him right at 3.5 years old. But for a first deer, he trumps many first deer of anybody that I know, especially to get it done with a bow, and for it to be a velvet buck. It was an incredible story, and with everything Austin went through last year, he's well deserving to get it done.
Yeah, especially with everything that you said he went through last year, and that just goes to show, I mean, just with anything hunting wise, never give up. All you got to do is be at the right place at the right time, and anything can happen at that point,
Yeah, anything can happen is right. So he had several encounters last year. The buck crawling underneath the fence was incredible. And to be honest, early in the season, we encountered about a 6.5-year-old 7 point that I was drooling at the bit for us to knock down, but it didn't work down. Nice gray face. Old. I had a little bit of history with this deer. Wide 7 point. Never thought I'd see him in a million years, and there he was. And that didn't work out. And then we had several encounters. We thought we would get him a doe, which you kind of, oh yeah, we'll just get this guy a doe, right? That's kind of like everybody thinks. Oh, we'll just put him on a doe. Every time we tried to hunt does, we had bucks come in. So it was just one of those deals. We kind of wanted his first experience to be, a little bit easier than it was, but it kind of worked out the way it did.
For sure. We're coming up on time here.
Yeah.
But what is the future for 8th and Tine Hole, do you think?
We've all made a commitment to ourselves and to what we're doing and to the hunting industry, and I hate to use that word, but it is what it is, to always be real. The minute that we can't be real, we're done. The minute that we can't have fun, we're done. We'll continue to do what we're doing, but we won't try and, make it a business or whatever. For the future for us, we've got several episodes right now that are in the works that are actually being edited as we speak. We just turned over a bunch of footage to our editors here. Our goal is to be a direct to consumer. That's kind of the new platform. So we're going to be pretty much strictly web based. We are working on possibly a couple of TV contracts, but we're working on a couple of web based contracts. We're going to be on. We'll have our own. It'll be subscription based from our website, obviously YouTube, Vimeo, things like that, and then My Outdoor TV. So that is our goal. That's our future, is to share what I talked about at the beginning. Life in the outdoors, and inviting 99.9% of hunters to meet us where we're at, because we aren't professionals. I can say this. We aren't making $1 off of what we're doing. We're not making a penny off of what we're doing. This is all 100%
Passion.
Our jobs pay for what we're doing. This is passion based. Our wives support us. Our wives help us with a lot of what's going on.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the future for us is, this isn't none of us ever wanted to be professional hunters, professional this or that. We're all lucky to have great jobs that we have. Our future is to kind of just showcase what we're doing and what we love to do, which is videoing life and hunting in the outdoors.
Man, that was a pretty good answer right there. I know Cody, he didn't make this one, but I know he wishes all the best for you, the same as I do. Videoing life and hunting is not as easy as it sounds. Man, my word of advice would just be try to dodge that wife conversation as long as you can.
Well, she's been trying to beep into me. I'm supposed to be meeting her for dinner here in a few minutes. So I've been dodging that conversation for the past 15 minutes.
Well, there you go. She's gonna take you out. She's probably gonna pay for a nice dinner and just break something big to you, and you're gonna get blindsided.
That sounds about right.
All right, Garrett. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on, and I know Cody sends his best wishes to you guys, and everything that you guys are gonna do going forward, man.
Hey, let's get together and hunt sometime, homie.
Yeah, that'd be awesome too. I know Cody and I, we're sitting here waiting for October 1st to come around, and we're seeing all these velvet bucks, hit the ground, and we're like, man, dude, we gotta go somewhere and try to get something down. Whether we get it down or not, we gotta try just to get the get the itch itched.
That's right. I hear you. Yeah, y'all need to. We need to make it happen, man. Let's get together and hunt.
For sure, man. We'll be in touch, and we'll try to get something in the game plan.
All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it, man. I look forward to staying in touch, and we'll make it happen again soon.
Yeah, will do, man. Enjoy the dinner with the wife.
Be good, homie.
Who said I couldn't fly a podcast solo? I think I did a pretty decent job, considering the circumstances. I ran low on beer, and that was a huge problem. So I worked through it. I did the best of my abilities on low beer count, but we made it happen. Can't thank Grant enough for coming on. I think we had this thing scheduled for 2 or 3 different times at least. So appreciate him, whether he was in a rainstorm or not, making the time, make this podcast happen. We want to welcome all the new listeners to the family. We got something special coming out here next week for you guys. We can't thank everybody enough for listening and hitting that play button. So if you guys are listening now, you're definitely going to listen next week and see what we got in store. Other than that, man, Whitetail Legacy out.